What is this place?
Well, damn, you made it to the spot. This is your safe and encouraging place where we are getting down with our healing journey. So if you come from trauma, if you come from domestic violence, if you come from sexual assault and you're listening, that means you are a survivor. And together we get to grow. This is where we ask real questions like, why does this journey feel so damn endless? And more importantly, how do we begin to actually heal? This spot is also for the fellas who are tired of all the toxic BS that is out there and who are ready to find out what the hell real masculinity looks like. And yes, we will also address the most important question on everybody's mind.
Dude, what's that on your face?
So please join me, David Torres, on this path where we stop blaming, where we start healing, and where we start getting answers. This is Walk With Me. Spoiler alert, it's a birthmark. It's just a damn birthmark. Welcome back to Walk With Me. If you've been here before, I am certainly glad that you are back. And if you're new here, this is a space where we have real conversations about healing, growth, and the things most people don't want to talk about, but probably should. So I'm glad you're here. I'm checking in on you. How was your week? I hope it was okay. I had a very good week. It's always challenging seeing some of the news that comes up, seeing some of the things that are out there in the world today, things that sometimes make it hard for us to smile and have faith in humanity, but there is faith in humanity. There is good out there, and I saw some of that. I don't know if you guys watch much sports. I was able to watch the NFL draft this last week. That was fun because I love to see grown, big-ass men cry because their dream has just come true. It's fun for me regardless of what team you root for. I think it's a pretty cool thing to witness. Lots of sports. I live in Colorado. We have two teams in the playoffs, the Denver Nuggets and the Avalanche. I hate to be somewhat pessimistic, but I think the Avalanche are probably the only team we're going to be seeing after the first round, after watching several games. But this isn't a sports show. As much as I want to talk about how the Nuggies are doing, who am I to talk about that? But I do hope that you have had a great week, that you can sit back this weekend and just kind of chill and relax, make time for you. This episode today is one I've kind of been thinking about for a while. We're talking about something many of us grew up with, but we never really had the language for it. I'm talking today about things like silence, respect, control, the things we weren't asked to question. And by the end of this episode, what I'm hoping you walk away with is a clear understanding of those patterns, the ability to recognize them, and how to start changing them. Because it is up to us. You know, we've got a lot of things on our shoulders. We have trauma that we're healing from. We have a cycle that needs to be broken. And we also have things around us, things from our past that we recognize are still a part of us. That breaking the cycle doesn't just talk about the things that we pass on to our kids and grandkids, but also how we grow ourselves and change. So it's important to recognize these things and to start learning how to change them. Before we get into things, let's talk current events, some of the negative shit that I saw this past week. I want to talk about something that's been coming out very recently. And as reports, I know a lot of you, if not all of you, have heard about what's being dubbed the Online Rape Academy. And I want to talk about what it really is. These are online spaces. They are groups for men who are sharing tactics, who are encouraging each other, and who are openly discussing ways to manipulate or pressure women. Not as a joke, not as exaggeration, but something being normalized. And I want to be very exact here that this isn't just about bad individuals. Okay, bad individuals a few here, a few there, they don't change the way we perceive things in our culture. This is about a cultural problem. This is how society begins to accept things that are unacceptable. Guys, this is yet another example of how we allow certain actions to be acknowledged as it is what it is. Actions that don't get questioned and are taught to the next generation over and over again. Guys, spaces like this don't come from nowhere. We know that. They're built on entitlement. They're built on the lack of accountability. And we've talked about this before and how important accountability is. These spaces come from emotional suppression when we're young and something that we don't ever grow out of. And when we talk about what happens in the home, we're talking about where those ideas begin. So yes, we must talk about it, but damn it, we need to do something about it as well. Action. We can no longer allow these voices to command such a large audience without countering it, guys. Yes, I admit I am sitting here behind a microphone saying that we can't just talk about it as I just talk about it, right? We have to be about it. This is why I recently started sort of an offshoot to Walk With Me called The Code, which is hopefully just another voice amongst many others that I see that will speak to men or young men who are looking for guidance towards becoming what a man really is. Speaking to this next generation of men who will either continue this fucking disgusting and weak mindset that you see in this rape academy, the men who are a part of this rape academy, and the lack of accountability that oozes out from people like that, and hope that our young people decide to be a part of normalizing healthy masculinity and growth. So I'm glad we're doing that. But again, it's got to be every day. It's got to be no matter where we're at. We have to interrupt that mindset, those conversations. And granted, as I scroll through social media, I'll be honest with you, I see quite a few men on different platforms discussing this. It pumps me up, man. It makes me so excited and hopeful because I want more and more men who are as disgusted as I am hearing about stuff like the Rape Academy to speak out. Because the more voices that we have out there, the more chance we have to flood the airwaves with the right information. The information that doesn't harm others, but builds a stronger and more successful society. So yes, we can talk about it and we should continue to talk about it, but we must work on ways that we can change the narrative. What I mean by that also is when we're talking about it, we can't just simply show or talk about the bad stuff that's happening. We have to also teach and guide on the things that you should be doing, the things that are acceptable, the thing that builds a strong man, a healthy man, a safe man. We can all sit here and just discuss all the disgusting things that this website brings forth. And that's important. Knowledge is important. Understanding is important. But we also have to show the opposite of that. And we have to make that something that is discussed all the time, normalized. We have to normalize the message of healthy masculinity. I refuse to believe that the cowards on this website are the majority of men out there. And fuck, I hope I'm right. It's scary. And while I refuse to believe it, it's still scary. It's more having faith than truly knowing it is the majority of men that are good. But the more y'all get out there, the more you get involved, not only will I become more hopeful and more confident, but so will everyone else in the statement that the majority of men out there are good. It's our job, men. It's our job. And yes, there are those dudes out there fucking it up for us. Absolutely. That doesn't make it any less our job. When you're at work and you tell somebody, that's not my job, you become less of the solution and more of the problem. And the same goes with this. Just because we haven't caused, or you believe that you haven't caused the damage that those fucking idiots on that website have, doesn't absolve you from being part of the solution. All of us have to be part of the solution. Let's move forward together. So let's move on to our episode. That was my rant of the day, if you will. Current event. You know, when you have a current event section in your podcast and it's talking about Rape Academy, you know shit's kind of going to hell. But again, we are going to be part of the solution. We have a lot to talk about today, especially when it comes to the truths about abuse that we don't like to talk about. So when we excuse our actions with comments like, this is just how it was, this is just how it's always been, this is how it was growing up for me, you know, at some point, what we really have to ask is, what are we allowing to continue? Where am I at fault in the cycle being repeated? Because some of us weren't in abusive homes, or so we believed. We were raised in homes where certain types of abuse were normalized. So we didn't consider it that. We didn't necessarily view it as toxic or abusive. So let's talk about that. When something appears or is normal to us, you don't question it. You adapt to it. You learn from it. You become that. And sometimes you carry it forward without even fucking realizing it. And to be clear, when I am talking about this subject, I am talking about everything and everyone under the umbrella of a toxic childhood. Everyone. No matter who you are, no matter what your background is, this is for everyone. But in my experience, and what I want to share with you today, is in regards to my community, the Latino community. You may or may not know, but I was born in what we like to call La Isla de Encanto, or what the original Taino inhabitants called Boriquen. Many of you know it as simply Puerto Rico. I was born there, and during my healing process, as I got a little bit older, I learned a lot of things that were normalized in our culture that I fucking hated. And I wanted to talk about it today because the more we talk about things, the better of a chance we have to normalize the change that's necessary. Let's ground this first. People who are listening, this is not about attacking the Latino culture. I love my culture. You speak to any Latino person from South America, the Caribbean, Mexico, anywhere. We are a proud people. We love our culture. We love our food. We love our music. We love learning about our history. There is so much beauty in our culture. Family, resilience, pride, connection. This isn't about tearing any of this down. Loving something does not mean you accept it at face value. Listen to me. That isn't love. That is enabling. And in my opinion, enabling is legit the opposite of love. Because loving something, my people, means wanting it to grow, means wanting it to get better and better, not turning a blind eye to the mistakes or the outdated mindsets because the generation before us accepted that. Fuck that. Our job, generation to generation, is to make things better that the generation before us did not. They had their job, we take next. Let me give you an example. For all of you out there who have kids, you love them, right? But you don't just stay silent when they make mistakes. At least I hope you don't. I would hope that you teach them, you correct them, you find ways for your children to grow especially in situations where mistakes are made. Mistakes are okay. We teach them that. That's how we learn. Allowing mistakes to continue with no recourse or no correction or no teaching, that is enabling. So please just know that the only reason I speak today about the harms I've recognized about my childhood and what was accepted is my show of how much I truly love my culture and my people. I want them to be better. I want us to be better every day. With saying that, I know, guys, that abuse isn't always loud. I know sometimes it's just normalized. It's something that we grow up seeing every day. Not everything we experienced was abuse. It was just normalized. It was not healthy. And those normalized experiences can often, more often than not, turn into abuse. So let's talk numbers for a second. Believe this or not, roughly 1 in 3 Latino women experience intimate partner violence in their lifetime. Listen to what I just said. This isn't rare. This is happening in our communities. And here's what makes it even more complex. Latina women are statistically less likely to report the abuse. And it's not because it's not happening. A lot of it is about culture, or the culture that we've accepted. Fear, family pressure, our expectations, our cultural expectations, real life consequences. Real life consequences that people on the outside looking in don't see, don't understand, and often don't give a damn about it. They don't accept it. Again, this is not going to be about blame. This is about understanding the information, awareness, right? Because we become aware of the problem and now we want to protect our people. So I know I'm speaking to the Latino community, and I also know the culture can vary from background to background. But the understanding of accepting toxicity because it's just the way it's always been speaks to everyone in every background. Again, I know I'm talking about the Latino community, but this message is for everybody because in their own way, in their own cultural acceptances, this is happening. I have experience in the Latino aspect of it, in the Latino culture of it. So that's why I'm going to keep kind of going back to that. Please don't think that this is just a Latino problem. Okay? Let's talk about how this actually shows up. Number one, the silence culture. What happens, and I know you've heard this. If you're a Latino, you know you've heard this. What happens in this house stays in this house. Sounds like loyalty, right? The problem is that we often miss truly protecting each other when shit goes unspoken. It becomes what? Normalized. And it often protects harm. I saw that shit. So what do? We got to start small, and we'll get into it a little bit more, but talking to someone safe, finding that safe someone can be a chore. I understand that. But that's one small step. Journaling it honestly, and that when I say journaling, it's also just speaking it to yourself, honestly. Visualizing it, seeing it, and accepting this shit is fucking wrong. Saying it, that didn't feel right. That felt wrong. The first step isn't about public truth. It's about private honesty. Because once you become honest with it, you can accept it. And that starts a whole thing. It starts a journey towards fixing it, towards not allowing it, towards not allowing it to be normalized. Moving on, respect versus control. This is something that a lot of us have really just gotten wrong. Because we were taught respect equals obedience. Many of us, and again, I'm going to speak to the Latino community, we grew up in the church, did we not? Whether it was Catholic or Christian, we grew up in that shit. And man, if there was one verse that Latino parents love to quote, especially when y'all become teenagers, is honor thy father and honor thy mother, right? The problem with that is often they would add to the end of that verse, no matter what. What the hell was that? Therein is where the problem lies. Because it isn't no matter what. Whether you are a religious person or not, it is never no matter what. That isn't respecting your mother or father. That is standardizing toxic behavior. Sorry. And if you don't agree, I'm sorry. But that is my truth. I love my mother, but I'm not going to accept everything that comes from her. If I think it's wrong, I'm going to tell her. We're going to have a conversation. Me and my mom have great conversations on what we disagree on. That is real respect. That is real honor. Okay? Because we're both growing when we have these conversations. That respect and that honor have and will always include boundaries. Something that our community is often uncomfortable with. Because when we become adults, we become a little braver and we start to shift towards things like, I hear you, but I see it differently. Those are the conversations that need to be had. I'm not or wasn't comfortable with that. Mom, dad, whatever. Those are the open conversations that need to be had. You can honor someone. Listen to me. You can honor someone without abandoning yourself. Because when we accept that shift, whether or not the generation before us sees it or agrees with it, we can begin practicing those shifts with our children and teaching them to understand what honoring mothers and fathers truly is, or our interpretation of that. We open up the ability for our children to have conversations with us that we never dared have with our parents growing up. So this is why I hate that retort people have that often they believe is making some sort of gotcha statement. You know this statement, and I encourage you to join me in hating it as much as I do, because I know you've heard it before, especially when people are talking like politics or about something that isn't right. They say, if you don't like it, then leave. What the fuck is that? What kind of solution is that? Listen, in my experience, the two things can coexist. You can love something or someone and not like it, or like how it or they are in the present. I fucking love my kids. Perfect example. I love my kids more than anyone, excluding my wife maybe, will ever love them. Anyone. But that doesn't mean I like everything about them. Are you kidding me? And in the past, when they have been, and one still is, under my roof, and I find something they are doing or saying is unlikable, is toxic, is unacceptable, I don't just kick them out. I don't just abandon them and move on with my own life. I do my part to making them better. That is my fucking job as someone in their life that loves them, holding them accountable and trying to make them better. Hello? What are we talking about here? That is how the people around you grow and evolve, one action at a time that shows I love you enough to help you get better. And it goes the same mutually. If someone I know who loves me feels that what I am doing is wrong or something that I'm doing is wrong, I am not going to just dismiss that. I'm going to take a hard look into my actions and take accountability because it means coming from them, they are wanting me to get better. And that means more to me than pride or ego. Those actions are what begin to change the narrative, people. What is acceptable and puts cracks into the cycle that needs breaking. Hello, that was a long one. Let's move to the next one, which is emotional suppression. Most people, y'all, don't know what they feel. They just react. So learning how to pause and ask, What am I actually feeling here? And then express it calm, clear, and controlled. That's strength. Learn to respond versus react. Talked about this previously, but it is really important to understand the difference between responding and reacting and how that regulation of your emotions and the way you speak to others can change an entire situation. Positively, I may add. Another one is normalized aggression. If you grew up in loud environments, and Latino people know exactly what I'm talking about, yes, you learn how to match energy. But growth looks like lowering your tone, slowing down, sometimes walking away. That's not weakness. Y'all, that is not weakness. That's breaking generational patterns. Isn't that what we're talking about here? Let's go. Here's one: loyalty over safety. I get it, but loyalty doesn't mean tolerating harm. When did it become sacrificing peace and staying unsafe? Loyalty is honesty, accountability, and it comes with fucking boundaries, y'all. I'm sorry for you. Sometimes it actually does sound like, I love you, but I can't engage in this anymore. I've said that to my mother. And to be honest with you, over the years, the conversations me and her have had back and forth, she's learned to say that to me. Because sometimes, believe it or not, David Torres can be too much. And I recognize that. And it's okay to walk away from that. It's okay to not have to match energy every single time. It's okay to know that safety is an important aspect of loyalty. Your own safety, your own self-peace. Let's run that back. We start naming things honestly. We start setting small boundaries. We start expressing emotions safely. Mira, if you are listening to this and you hear expressing emotions safely and that gives you a cringe, we got some growing to do. It's time to grow the fuck up. It is 2026. Emotions is not a bad word. It's a good word. Stop cringing at that bullshit. We start not matching aggression. And we start redefining loyalty. What the hell? That's how change begins. You don't break generational patterns by calling them out one time. You break them by responding differently consistently. The phrase I probably said in every single podcast episode over and over again. Yes? Yes. Now here's why all this is hard. Because when you start questioning things like this, you feel guilt, you feel disloyal, right? Like you're betraying your family. That's real. That's real. I'm not mad at you for feeling that. But the truth is, acknowledging harm is not betrayal. It's growth. And that's what we have to continue to believe and know, that that is real. When you do this work, you gain clarity, you gain boundaries, you gain self-trust. And you have now the ability to break cycles. Let me tell you something. Breaking cycles is a lot more powerful than you think. If you've never done it, if you've never broken a cycle, one day you wake up and go, holy shit, I'm not doing the same things that I saw growing up, that people expected me to do because of the way I grew up, because of the environment that I grew up. And you got to give yourself props for that. But it feels damn good when you break a toxic trait and that cycle is severed. Because once it's severed, it cannot continue. You know you're doing the work for the generation after you. And you know they'll continue that work in the generations after them. We don't reject our culture. I'll be damned if I'll ever reject my culture, but we can refine it. Yeah, we keep the love. We keep those connections. We keep that fucking pride. And we challenge the silence, the control, the suppression. Because the goal isn't to lose who we are. That's not what we're trying to do here. It's to become a healthier version of it. That is evolution. And that is real growth. Making what you love better than it was yesterday. That's it. Simple, not easy. So listen, you're not going to do this perfectly, guys, especially in the Latino community. This shit's a cluster. Okay. It's going to look ugly. You're going to slip. You're going to react. You're going to fall back into old patterns. That doesn't mean you failed. It means you're learning something new. Consistency, not perfection, is what changes your life. And that is the important message that I want to be so very clear today. We're going to do this. We're going to try to attack these cycles or these characteristics that we know are wrong. And we're going to try them over and over again. We're going to fail, we're going to fall, but we're going to do better. And we're going to continue that work. You and I. So the challenge this week, here's your challenge. Think about one belief you were taught growing up and ask yourself, does this create connection or control? Just observe it. That's all I'm asking you to do. But if you skip this, nothing changes. It's imperative that when you actually decide to take on these challenges, you have to be honest with yourself. Half-assing shit, guys, or sweeping it under the rug fixes nothing. Nobody's watching you. And let's be honest, guys, that characteristic that you crave, integrity, you know what they say. It's the things that you do when no one is watching. That's what these challenges are. Shit I'm asking you to do when no one is watching. Be honest with yourself. But remind yourself that you are doing this because of how much you love who you are, and growth is all that matters. Not a tough challenge, but it has to be honest. This week, for the fashion tie-in, we're going to bring this into identity. This week, I'm rocking the PR hoodie, the Borinquen hoodie with my Taino images. Yes? Fire? Slay? Anything? Period? No one? Moving on. Guys, Latino culture is deeply tied to how we present ourselves. Style is pride, it's heritage, it's expression. Here's the shift. We can honor our culture without carrying every part of it unchanged. Yes? Identity evolves. And when you start healing, my friends, you start showing up differently. It's not just fashion, it's growth. You look at someone like Bad Bunny, Benito, right? What has he done? Because it's not just music, it's identity. He's worn painted nails, skirts, oversized silhouettes, bold, expressive pieces. And for a lot of people, especially in Latino culture, that challenged something. Because we were taught this is what a man looks like, and this is how he presents himself. Punto y se acabó. Period. End of discussion. And he said, nah, I'm not going to define myself like that. Right? That's powerful shit. That's why he's known all around the world. And that's what healing looks like. Choosing who you are instead of just repeating what you were taught. I hope a lot of you have heard of J Balvin. J Balvin has been very open about his anxiety and depression, and you see that in how he expresses himself through fashion. Bright colors, bold fits, unapologetic style. This shit's not random. That's someone saying, I'm not fucking hiding anymore. Love. Love. Even outside of celebrities, guys, look at Latino streetwear culture. From NY all the way to LA, all the way to Puerto Rico. You see clean sneakers, fitted caps, gold chains, intentional fits. That's not just style, that's pride. That's identity. That's saying, this is who I am. Here's the shift. We were taught to wear culture with pride. Now we're learning we can also evolve it with intention. Latino artists are showing up in ways that are bold, expressive, unapologetic. Wepa! And what you're seeing isn't just fashion. What you're seeing is identity in real time. And I love that. And that is my tie-in this week. Listen, if any of this hit for you, you're not alone. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Questioning something about your culture doesn't mean you don't love where you come from. It means you give a damn enough to do something that makes it better. Let's bring this home. Today, we talked about the patterns we were raised in, the silence that protects them, and how culture can normalize harm. But more importantly, we talked about growth. We don't honor our culture by ignoring its flaws. We don't honor anything or anyone with full-on acceptance regardless of their actions. We honor it by evolving it through speaking up, through action, through taking accountability. Because, my friends, progress is the point. And until next time, take care of yourself. And I will see you on the path. Hey y'all, thanks for walking with me today. If something in this episode resonated with you, you can find resources, support organizations, and additional information at walkwithmepod.com. Whether you're seeking help for yourself or someone you care about, those resources are there for you. You can also connect with me on social media. All of the links are in the show notes and on the website. I always welcome your reflections, questions, and stories. And with your permission, some may even help guide future episodes as this community continues to grow. If you believe in what we're building here, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast. It truly helps this message reach more people who may need it. And if someone came in mind while you were listening today, consider sharing this episode with them. Sometimes a single conversation can open the door to healing. Until next time, keep moving forward, one step at a time. Psst, this part is super important, my friends. I want to be very clear about something. I am not a licensed therapist, a counselor, a psychologist, or a medical professional. The content shared on Walk With Me is based on personal experience, research, education, and lived perspective, not professional or clinical advice. This podcast is intended for educational, reflective, and community-based conversation only. It is not a substitute for professional mental health care, medical treatment, legal advice, or crisis intervention. If you are in immediate danger, experiencing a crisis, or need professional support, please contact emergency services or a licensed mental health professional or a trusted support organization right away. Resources and hotlines are listed in the show notes and on walkwithmepod.com. Listening to or participating in this podcast does not establish my therapeutic, professional, or client relationship between you and I. My goal here is to open conversations, challenge harmful patterns, and offer insight and hope. But your safety, healing, and care deserve qualified, professional support when needed. Please take care of yourself